meeting to order at 10:02 on April 18th, 2020. Mr. Vice President, can we verify a quorum?
Yes, we do have a quorum. All board members are present.
Present via Zoom. Okay. We'll move right into the ratification of electronic votes. There was a vote on April 14th to approve the March 21st Board of Directors meeting minutes.
Mr. President, I'll move that we approve the minutes as published.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, any questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great. Unanimous. All right, moving into the reports section. We have so much going on right now. We are in the middle of working on street signs. We obviously have everything going on down at the club right now. We've been working side by side with Kemper, the designer as well, Mershon. Been seeing a lot of progress on all fronts there. We obviously have everyone, or a lot of people, staying at home right now, and so that is created some extra strains and unique aspects of things in the neighborhood. So security has been, security and Rockwall PD have been very helpful on some of those. Kids will be kids, and sometimes adults will be kids. And then that's it on that. But overall, I've been real pleased to see how we've been weathering this unprecedented situation. So a lot of positive stuff, and then obviously everything's greening up and looking beautiful. So very, very grateful for what we have. I've said this to a lot of people recently. I can't imagine weathering COVID-19 in a different neighborhood. There's just so much here, whether it's getting out, walking, there's just so many different amenities and opportunities to make it better than it could be. So very grateful there. David, I think I see a hand raised. David Raines. We're going to do questions here at the end according to the agenda here. So as soon as we get to that, I will unmute you and we can have conversations. Just want to give you a heads up there, not ignoring you. Outside of that, this is the first time we've done this on a full scale with having our residents in outside of the town hall, which actually Kemper ran for us. So we will do our best. If for some reason something happens here, we will get everything back up and rolling. So just want to give a heads up on all of that. Without further ado, I think we'll move into treasurer report from Scott. Scott, you're muted there. Hold on one second, Scott. For some reason, you're muted. Okay, can we hear you now? Hey, Scott.
T has done a great.
There you go.
Yeah, you got me now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. T has done a good job of getting all the financials together for where we are. As you look through them all, I mean, our audit for the 2019 is already completed, and we have a copy of it in the office. And after we approve it, we'll be posting it in the secure section of Town Square for anybody any resident wants to look at it. Also, the financials, one of the things, if you look at month to month, like especially if you look at November, December, January, February, March, there are some things that make one month look really good, another month not look as good, because of when expenses were booked versus when income was booked for payment on insurance. So you just have to be aware of that when you're looking at month to month. Year to date is all correct.
Okay. Very good. Anything else to add?
No, just that again, the financials will be kind of up and down as we start opening back up again. We'll have a lot of expenses that relate to just getting us back open again, and then income will come later.
Great. Understandable part of it. All right, let's move on to T's management report.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Awesome. So first of all, I just want to say good morning to the board, to our community. As Scott mentioned, final audit for both the landing and CLCA came in yesterday. I have forwarded that to the board, and there are copies at the office. Financials are already posted. As far as our property, we had one new resident in the month of March, and we welcomed those through the welcome committee. Our offices are closed to foot traffic, but we are open. Any requests or inquiries can either be done via email or call the office. Those will be routed. Carrie's been very good at routing those requests to either Cheryl or I, and we have been in the office also periodically. Due to the weather in the month of March, I know maintenance is trying to play catch up. So if you have requests or if you see needs within the community, let us know and we'll coordinate that with Chuck and his crew. As far as our aging, our total outstanding is $48,000. We haven't closed for the month of April yet. So $25,000 of that is current, and quite a, the remainder of that is either in collections or will be collected prior to the 20th. I wanted to put a thank you out. We had an issue with the storm that came through last Sunday, took down a couple of trees, and we lost a nest of blue herons. And Angel Reed was very helpful in taking one of the injured blue herons to a sanctuary in Hutchinson, Texas. And Cindy Shelton and her husband were very helpful. So the community seems to always pull together, and I'm very grateful for that. And basically, if you have any requests or needs, just let us know and we'll be happy to make sure that we remedy those or get on them right away.
Okay.
Hey, T, question. Both you and Scott have mentioned that the audit results are available in the office and people can't go to the office. So what do we need to do to get them posted on Town Square? What do we need to do?
They were sent to y'all this morning. Once you review them and get back to me, I'll be posting them today.
Okay, so they're up for e-vote right now?
Well, they're the final audit. The board reviewed the draft audit, so this is the final audit. So it's basically just reviewing receipt. As long as you don't see any changes, they should be ready to go. So I have them ready to post on Town Square and forward them to all of the board about 20 minutes ago.
Okay, well, maybe I might suggest that the board look them over the weekend and get the feedback so they can go up early next week.
Perfect.
Okay, good.
Yeah, but at the end of my report, one of the things I plan to do is make a motion that we instruct, short of some board member having an objection to something on them, that I move that we go ahead and post the audit to the secure portion of Town Square.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I would second that.
You're all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm gonna oppose it because I haven't had a chance to review it, and I want to look at it. So I'm just gonna vote to oppose it at this time.
Sure. And Chip, the way the motion, the intent of the motion is that any single board member can hold it up from being posted by just letting T know.
Okay.
Very good. Okay. All right, moving
So
over to you,
right
Chip.
now,
Oh, good.
yeah. So Chip, right now, then the sense of the motion is that it's on hold right now until you tell T it's okay for her to post it.
Understood.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll look it over. I just haven't had a chance to go through it to see if there were any
Sure, no
changes
problem.
from originally. So
Yes.
not trying to hold
Yeah.
things up.
Okay, so we will shoot for beginning of this next week.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Moving over to you, Chip, for security update.
Okay, so thanks, Evan. Security's been exceptionally busy. it's, school's out basically. And so some of the issues that we deal with at the beginning of the summer have started early because of various reasons. Mostly kids aren't, the teenagers mostly don't have things to do. Couple of changes we've implemented at the security gate is we're working during all hours when teenagers, if there's more than one teenager in a car coming in, we're actually identifying, asking for the names of all the individuals in the car. We have had a ticket issued to one individual who we had previously noticed trespass notice that's not allowed in the community. Rockwall PD handled that for us, did a great job, and will, if he's in here again, he'll be arrested. We continue to observe teenagers walking through the community and no social distancing. We just would encourage parents to talk to their kids about this. So in case folks don't know, as of this morning, Rockwall has 50 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the county. We are also, I would just encourage, this is usually something that happens first part of the summer. Please lock your vehicles and take your keys out of the vehicles. We're not dissimilar to any other neighborhood in Rockwall. Kids will take advantage to take your car for a little bit of a joyride, which happened last week. Fortunately, it was still here in the neighborhood. We'll just ask you to take your valuables out of the car, put them in the console, glove box, and lock the car. Other than that, everything's just peachy. And oh, by the way, no swimming in the Chandlers pond, no using of your paddleboard in any pond. So that's that.
Very good. All right, moving on to old business. We got a street sign update. Back to you, Chip.
Okay, we have submitted all the, we have one proposal from a company out of Florida. We thought the price was exceptionally high. We took those concepts to a local company here, waiting on, they have all the information. They've come back and asked some questions. I'm hoping next week to have a firmed up price from that RFP. And so stay tuned for that. So this is for street signs, replacing all the street signs, all of the traffic signs, meaning the speed limit signs, and a few other what I call just informational regulatory signs. And then the next phase will be what I think, Evan, we call wayfinding signs. That'll be kind of a phase 2 approach.
Yeah, I'll add in a little bit on the wayfinding signs just for all of our guests here. A big part of what the focus of this board right now is looking out 20, 30 years, trying to make sure that we're prepared financially for big ticket items in the future, but also at the same time dusting off this gym that we have here, lakefront, and making it what it was originally intended to be, which was a resort style community. That is in all of the literature, that is exactly what the plan was. And things happen over time, but it is our desire to freshen everything up. So not just street signs, but also some wayfinding signs, 2 different amenities that we have as a reminder, basically, to the neighborhood. Because sometimes you just come in and go home and kind of forget. I think right now has been a great time for everyone to see how advantageous all of the different amenities we have, whether it's just walking in green belts or whether it's pond areas, parks, etc. We have a lot to offer here, and so we want to be able to feature that within the community a lot more.
So I was going to ask Chip, just to give the community an idea of the size of this scope, how many signs are we talking here?
Roughly
Well,
58, I believe, on street signs.
There's close to just roughly, there's close to 75, I think it's around 75 total signs. So these will be signs that are unique to Chandlers. Evan did a great job of coming up with a design. These will be on some type of metal powder coated post. We're still working through that concept. They will be, in most cases, a combination on an intersection of where there's a stop sign today that's on a separate post. They'll be on the same post as the street sign. These are reflective street signs. So from a public safety standpoint for first responders that are not familiar with the community, this will be a big boost for them. So it's right now, Randy, I think it's around, I want to say 70, 75 total. I may be a little bit high on that, but it's in that neighborhood.
I'm trying to find a email on that just to see if I could screen share kind of a look of that for everyone. Not that it's the end all be all, but just to give people a vision on that.
The reason I kind of wanted our residents to get an idea, I would have no idea that we needed 75 or 80.
Yeah,
You see so many signs when you're coming in, and so that's a lot of signs. Surprising.
So it's this is a reflective product. I think it's actually a 3M product. The signs, so obviously when light hits them, they're gonna shine. So this is just a concept here. So this would be an example of the stop sign and the street sign. So it's a little bit unique that it's somewhat similar to the city of Heath or town of Heath. The post may not look exactly like that. That's something we're working through right now. So there'll be a minimum of, the street signs will be a minimum of 7 feet high from the ground, and posts will be buried in concrete. So these are powder coated, high quality posts, and we want to have the issues that we have today. So
yeah, this will be a really good long-term solution. Right. And obviously we'll get extra for the inevitable time that we need to replace one or something. So we are trying to be prepared on all fronts. Anything else on that, Chip?
Nope, I'm good.
All right, let's move into what so many people want to hear about, club updates.
Okay, do you want me to go first, Evan?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we are, as of yesterday afternoon, the main floor, well, the third floor of the landing has been completely removed. All of the support beams that can come down have been removed. We've actually taken those off-site down to the maintenance shop and stored them. I think our intent is to reuse them, repurpose them into benches or tables, things of that nature. So there's some really nice wood there. So we removed all of that. We have, during this process, I think next week, hopefully they'll start downstairs with the demo down there. The demo downstairs is a little bit more complicated, but hopefully will not add to the time frame. So we're still looking to be complete in the next 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. I'll just put it in that category. Some observations that we found, which were there are some things that so our new HVACs, we found 2 units that we put in 2017 that upon inspection on Thursday, we found that those were wired incorrectly and not working properly. So this now takes a total to the number of 4 units. We found 2 this winter. after we turned the gas back on that weren't wired correctly. Now we have 2 more. And then just some other dangerous situations. Some of it's due to age, some of it is due to poor workmanship done along the way here. So hopefully, I think we've uncovered most of the issues, at least on the main floor, the restrooms, everything. The pictures are all posted on Town Square. So most of the demolition is complete up there, will be complete. We still have to take the tile out as you come in the door. And the downstairs is the next piece to tackle. And electricians have been disconnecting for worker safety. And we have a number of overloaded circuits in various sub panels. Those are all being identified and marked so we can put them back together when the time comes. So that's pretty much where we are. I think pretty optimistic here. We'll be able to stay on track. My conversations with Mershon yesterday afternoon, we typically have a daily update. They're confident we can meet, you know, barring some surprise downstairs, but we don't see anything right now. That's the update.
So along with that, what I've understood in the process is that, and some of our vision to our residents and guests that are joining us here, is we're taking a building that we haven't owned other than the last 3 years, but there was a period of time of 32, 35 years before that, roughly, that it kind of went from owner to owner and just wasn't handled the way that it probably would have been if we had been the owner the entire time, as far as putting in updates and refurbishing as we went. So we're basically doing 30 plus years of renovation all in one fell swoop. And to that point, when we're all done, it's appearing like we'll have all new exterior doors, all new glass. The glass throughout the entire building is single pane, non-tempered. So there's going to be significant, Randy's talked about this, significant energy savings. I would estimate somewhere in that $30,000 to $40,000 a year is what we're going to save just on energy efficiency. And then basically we'll end up with mostly all new plumbing and all new electrical wiring. So we really are setting this up for success for the future for all of us. Anything else on that front that is worth noting?
I think yes, I mean, the plumbing that we've replaced as a result of the fire, which is most of the plumbing in the kitchen, basically all of the waste pipes were clogged. I don't know how anything went down the drain. We've seen pipes today that are PVC pipes that have electric, water, and other wires, or for example, the Coca-Cola lines run through. So those are just dangerous situations. We'll be able to take care of all of that. To your point, Evan, the bones of the building, the structural engineers have been in there. The bones of the building are good. There's way more positive than negatives here. So it's just getting it cleaned up. There's 35 years of junk in there. We've got most of that out. There's some more to come. We're working on getting finalized. We're probably 99% finalized on the remodel side of it. After the demo's done, they're out working on firming up bids for putting it back together. We're still waiting on some MEP engineering factors so that we can go to the city of Rockwall for a building permit. So we hope to be able to do that in the next week to 10 days.
Okay, awesome. Anybody else on the board have anything to add on this? before we move on to the next part of the update? Nope, all good. All right, Chip, if you're good with it, I think we'll hand control over to our friends at Kemper.
Yep.
All right, Jared, you are up.
There we go. All right. Well, hey, thanks for personally allowing me to socially distance from my own children for an hour and be here with you guys. I needed it more than anybody knows. But we really appreciate the time. We have some exciting things that we're really excited to share with you as we've been going through this process with the board for quite some time now. You'll see Val D'Souza on and our colleague Annie Carrillo in the marketing space. And I'm going to turn it over to Val to kind of walk through this process, and then we'll talk about and see some fun pictures. I also want to let everybody know that if you're not on the video part of the call, if you're just audio, Evan is recording this, and Evan, let me know if I'm speaking out of turn, but Evan's recording this. We'll make it available on the website, as well as the Google slideshow that we're showing right now.
Yeah, you're right.
Perfect.
Thanks, Jared. Just want to test my audio. I've had some computer difficulties. You can hear me okay, right, Jared?
Yes.
Good to go.
Okay, great. All right, so good morning, everybody. Thank you again for giving us the opportunity to talk about the work we've been doing on rebranding and preparing for the future of the image of the property and what that all involves and what it entails. So I'm going to kind of start with a quick refresh of how did we get to this point? How did we get to a point of renaming and rebranding the property and collectively working with the board to come up with a great vision? So we started with interviews back in August when we interviewed past board members, current board members, customers. We also did our research out in the market outside of the gates to figure out what people thought of the landing, favorable and unfavorable. And we found both, as we expected. We found what people liked most and what they disliked most. Then we took that information and we also included the staff in that as well. We also then put out a survey. The survey was sent out about a month or two later. It encompassed the entire community and anybody else that was given access to the link to take the survey. We received nearly 500 responses, and again, collected a lot of great feedback and a lot of good sentiments on how people felt about the landing as an entity, and as a business and as a restaurant, and what the verbatim feedbacks were extensive, in addition to the several questions that we asked. Most notable was the Net Promoter Score. Net Promoter Score is a measure of a business's reputation in the sense that it asks the question, how likely are you to recommend it to a friend, family, or colleague? That is a universal measure across all industries and across all businesses. We as a company pay significant attention to our Net Promoter Score on a daily and weekly basis. As an example, best-in-class companies in their industry typically rank anywhere between 50 and 70. Exceptional companies are north of 70. The Landing's Net Promoter Score was negative 28.8. So there was a lot of concern amongst the board and ourselves about the brand equity of the name The Landing and how people perceived the landing in the open space, in the open market. So the next step was Jared and I worked with the board and did a strategic planning session over the winter, pre-COVID-19, so we could all be within 6 feet of each other. And we basically asked the board as part of that strategic plan, tell us what you feel the landing and Chandler's Landing, more importantly, means to the community. What does it feel like to live in the community? What are the most important aspects of the community and living there? And most importantly, what is the lifestyle of Chandler's Landing that is most attractive? So this word cloud that Jared has on the screen speaks to that. Those represent the words that the entire board gave us. There are also words that came up through the survey and came up through all of our interviews and due diligence as to the highest value of living in Chandler's Landing is what is most important to the people living there. So this, and the larger the words are, the more the more important they were. And the gated community being a key aspect of exclusive and secure and in that time frame. So after we collected all of this feedback from the board and the neighborhood and all the past leaders of the community, we really set out to come up with a name. And in naming any business or any property, that's the first step in rebranding, because that's the thing that will be remembered. And it's the introduction, it's the first impression. It means a lot. And there was a lot of fond memories to the past. So when we set out to come up with the name, we really wanted to come up with something that would tie the past and the fondness of the history of the landing to the future. So we really wanted to tie that all together and come up with something that would symbolize in the logo, but also in the name, what people reflected fondly of. We also wanted to come up with something that would tie residents of the community to the club and to the landing, what it becomes. We also wanted to tie in the relationship of the history, the rich history of the past to the future of what it's going to be after this renovation and when we reopen. We wanted to tie together the relationship now with Kemper Sports being involved to the CLCA and the Chandlers Landing community. And finally, we wanted to symbolize something that would represent what the landing is also very well known for, which is weddings, where people come to tie the knot together and start their future together. So we came up with the name, the Yacht Club, which is not new to many of you that are listening and to the past. But the Yacht Club symbol fulfilled a lot of the things in the words that you see, but also in how people will refer to it. And I'll turn it over to Jared with where we went from there.
So in every element, it also just happens that what we are formerly calling the landing, the Yacht Club, is on Yacht Club Drive. So there are a lot of pieces which you'll see now in the logos that we've designed around that. And that process simply was crowdsourcing designers, us bringing what we believe to be the best few to the board, having some great, very opinionated conversation, as everybody has one, and we recognize that every resident has an opinion about it too. And then we, and I hope everybody's hearing the drum roll, are ready to unveil this after all of those weeks of discussion. So the Yacht Club, in this particular, it's always nice for me to be able to see it on something that would be printed. And for all of the points that Val just mentioned, and then Annie will expound upon in a few minutes, what would it look like on a wedding invitation? Does it encapsulate even the logo, everything that was represented by the board who represents all of the residents? And this is the one that we chose. You can see, if you can see my cursor here, it might be small if you're looking on a mobile device. It's got a serif font, which shows more of a resort kind of feel. We believe that this really balances the lakeside casual atmosphere as if you were on the pool or on the deck, and at the same time being a great place for weddings, for high-end events, that just kind of raises the bar to that exclusive resort lifestyle that we determined with this board that we wanted to represent. So this middle line, and we don't call them ropes, we call them lines. Isn't that right, Scott? As on a sailboat or any other boat. We've learned a lot through this whole thing. These lines, we love what the designer did, representing the tie-in between the Yacht Club and then Chandlers Landing Community Association itself. And a great point made by the board is it also very much represents tying the knot, where people can have that imagery of being able to start their life together, as Val mentioned. You'll see that same thought carried.
Yeah.
Is there a question?
Let me jump in here, Jared. Let me interrupt you for just a second. You know, the knot or tying the knot, a lot of people don't know where that came from, and actually it came from centuries ago when people would board boats from Europe to come to America. They would get aboard the boat single, and they weren't couples coming; it was single people escaping for a new world. And the trip would often take anywhere from 90 to 120 days. While they're on the trip, very crowded boat, lots of people on board. Single people would meet, fall in love, and ask the captain to marry them. Well, in those days, traveling across the North Atlantic It was very wet. Paper wouldn't survive anything. It would get wet and fall apart. So they wanted to have something to show when they got to the New World that they were married. And the captains came up with the idea of giving each one a piece of rope, tying a reef knot. And a reef knot is very similar to the knot you show there, which is we can now call a square knot. But a reef knot, the quality of a reef knot is no matter how much you pull it, stress it, try and pull it apart, the tighter the knot gets, the less likely it ever comes untied. So hence tying the knot.
That's
It's a
awesome.
great story. It's a great story.
It's just an incredible segue, and Annie will get to it. I know she's super excited to talk about the influence that has over future wedding sales too, which is a great point. A couple of other just very small design elements that were also very intentional is you'll see the stars that separate the three words because the stars at night are big and bright in this great state of Texas. I'm sure everybody's clapping at home, even though you're muted. And we wanted to make sure that it was not a yacht club because it's not. It is the yacht club. It's the one that we want and really believe the CLCA will make their mark in this community and surrounding areas of even Dallas, reaching into that part. There might be other yacht clubs, but they're not the yacht club. So we wanted to remain exclusive resort premier at the same time tying to our roots, the knot, et cetera. And so we came up with just a couple of different, one other element that you see the waves in the Chandlers Landing logo. One of the other elements was a burgee, which is and correct me if I'm wrong, Scott is our resident sailor who does this for a living now. A burgee is often triangular pointed sign that's used on ships to communicate.
That's right.
Right? Hey, I nailed it, didn't I? I'm going to be a sailor myself.
Yes, you did.
So you'll see, well, we're going to stay with the blue and red, the white elements on the different backgrounds, but you also see one of the variations that we can put this logo in front of representing one of the burgees that was also very important to this board and referenced in the name itself in the yacht club. The wave elements you'll be able to see. And again, if you can't see it or you're just on audio, this will all be provided. Evan can send out these slides and I'm sure they'll be recorded on the website. Is we can still put them on other elements background without taking away from the actual logo and iconography itself. So you'll see that overlaid in the background is a sailboat, very classic in structure. And this will let you begin to visualize what this may look on a menu. When you come back up there, the yacht club opens for business. On wedding invitations is a little more pictured here. That Annie's going to talk about in just a second. But we absolutely love, and this was a labor of love, and I think the board would probably agree over the last 6 weeks or so in getting to this point of excitement that we're ready to unveil this to the entire community and what we believe is an incredibly strong representation of the community association and paying homage to the past, but also really looking forward to a bright future to where this is an incredible revenue generator for the association. And it's a landmark all in its own that you can call your own from Chandlers Landing. And so we did mock up a wedding invitation. I'm going to turn it over to our colleague, Annie, very familiar in that space, to tell you a little bit more about how we're going to be able to use this and implement it into wedding and event sales.
Thank you, Jared. Good morning, everybody. And
Morning.
just one point, I mean, if you look at it, to me, it looks very nautical as well, which let's say part of the board, he really wanted to include a boat. And then when I see this, I really see water, which is the main reason you guys all live there. So we're very happy to have the nautical and the water features that you guys all enjoy every day, and I'm jealous. Jared was able to mock up a wedding invitation. We're excited to host him and his wife event, renewal of their vows at the landing soon. It'll be their first event. Just kidding. But just you can see what brides would like to see this in an invitation. This is a very bit of a modern one, but I think it's very classy. We think it's very simple, but it also is timeless. So any kind of bride with any kind of, the sign or wedding invitation, if it's more classic or modern, it will look great with just the nod. And then obviously you just heard the great story that Scott shared with us. And I think we're definitely, as marketing team, we're gonna definitely use that in our advantage and make sure we use that story. I think it's gonna be a great selling point, and it's gonna be part of our sales strategy to attract new brides and to get leads excited. I would love to hear that story. So we're gonna definitely implement it. We also have been talking about some examples that could really be fun and be the differentiator in the community. For example, if we convert the Y and the rope in a little wooden or metal keepsake, we haven't decided yet, but it would be a gift that we would give every bride and groom that has a wedding there, for them to keep at their home, and then to be able to remember the Yacht Club as their place of the wedding. And that's how you become a legacy. That's how you go on from generation to generations. We're also talking about maybe converting somewhere in the building a wall dedicated to this, with the story on a frame that also will have a rope that we can add to it for every couple that gets married there. That would also be a also fun way to celebrate everybody and make it a really, like I said, a legacy and a really place this will help us place ourselves in the community as the place to get married, with a beautiful setting, with the water, and we'll think that will be, that will go a long way as well. I think also the name and the logo will attract different events, not just weddings. So it'll be great to host your baby shower, your bridal shower, your graduation. So, with that setting, with the logo and the Yacht Club, I think that will help us as well selling those type of events as well. And I think finally, also, as we think of the community, like Jared mentioned, when you walk in the building, you'll be able to feel that same modern and clean lines to the water that we all wanted to do, to portray in the menus, in the restaurant, and everybody to enjoy. It'll be part of our programming as well, for the type of programs we want to have in the landing just for the community, but the brunches, the Mother's Day brunches and things like that. So we're excited to work with the logo and around the same thing for all those events. So we hope you like the logo. We welcome any questions or any feedback, and I'll turn it up to you, Jared. I think there's one more slide.
Yeah, we did. And just to play on the color scheme, keeping it very much in brand of Chandler's Landing, you'll see some mock-ups just of polos where you can actually visualize a big piece of the element in choosing this logo was that the actual lines that form the line stand alone in themselves. Whether it's the TYC, the Yacht Club, the full thing like you would see on the shirts, or if it was just the lines that formed the Y on a cap, it stood alone on a sleeve, on beach towels. So there's a million and different ways that we're able to merchandise and utilize all the elements of this logo, whether all together like you would see here, or that standalone Y from the lines. So at this point, Val, if you don't have anything, I'll turn it back over to Evan. I think it's worth noting that during this whole process, it was really funny because it was never called the landing by anybody that I met. Even the board, it was, hey, let's go have dinner down at the club. Let's go, let's talk about on this board call, the club updates. So that was another big piece of that I thought just fit right into where we are and where we're going here at the Yacht Club, formerly known as the Landing.
It's awesome. I want one of those shirts.
Yeah, me too.
It's great.
Sample.
That's right. Okay. Chip, we have anything else on the club update, designer side of things or anything?
Yeah, so we've had one in-person meeting walkthrough with Courtney Adams, who is a interior designer out of Denton, and she specializes in design elements for venues such as ours, and was very insightful to spend a couple hours with her. She's given us a proposal excuse me, to provide design services to us and then manage any purchasing of fixtures, other elements. And so I would like to offer up a motion to approve that contract subject to final approval of our loans, or loan, I should say, and the cost, I believe, will not exceed $40,000. So it's about $2 a square foot. So this is all the flooring selections, wall paint colors, all those elements help us with other elements of design. And so I just would like to put that out in the form of a motion with the caveat that the approval is subject to the final approval and signing of a loan.
We have some discussion on that, Chip.
Pardon?
I'd like to open that for some discussion.
Sure.
Yes.
How about a second?
Okay, we got a second. So discussion, Randy?
Yeah, that also, if I understand correctly, she also going to be involved in the procurement process of gathering all that stuff for us too, correct?
Correct.
Yes. She would be handling the purchasing, the entire side of that, delivery, etc. So that's roughly, I think, around a quarter, a little bit more than that of that cost. So that allows a professional, and as all of our residents and guests are here, that's a big focus of the board in this process, is that we're letting professionals do their profession. So whether it be architect, whether it be designer, whether it be manager side of things from a marketing standpoint. So we are being very mindful of not getting in the way of people that do this for a living and paying attention to what they say.
That's also a very reasonable, fee too. Typically, that's a lot more per foot.
Yes.
A professional.
We were.
So she is definitely discounting that a lot for us.
Yeah, she's giving a lot to, she sees the project, she sees the benefit of what that could be. We did have a couple other designers that we looked at. The numbers that we got from them were more in the 6-digit range. So this is incredibly fair and a good thing for our overall project.
It's also important that we'll have a cohesive look throughout the landing, the yacht club.
Yeah. Yeah, we got to make that transition now, right?
Yep.
All right. Any other discussion on it? No. So we have motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, unanimous. Okay, I think that brings us to a close on club updates. Am I right on that, Chip?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so moving over to new business, and I'm going to have to pull up a different screen here to kind of go over our ponds committee wanted to update some of the resolution that they've had previously. Let's see here, give me 1 second. Okay, so one thing is in the current resolution, section E 4 and 5 need to be removed from it because it is redundant. It's mentioned in other sections. So that's one change that they would like to make. It basically goes into talking about some of the rules for the pond and how they operate, etc. So removing redundancy is always good for me, or good with me. Another aspect that they're wanting to change in the resolution is currently it states that the pond committee would be 3 to 5 residents that were on that committee. They're wanting to change that to 5 to 7. so that's the second change that they would like made to the resolution. And then there's one that's a little bit more challenging. We're wanting to get the word out, but we're not really sure how, from a functionality standpoint, this could work. There are times where we actually do need to not just catch and release. All of our ponds typically are known as catch and release ponds. But if for instance, a bass is under 14 inches, it is actually totally acceptable to catch and take or keep. That does leave it up to some open interpretation. I think we all know that anglers, fishermen, it was this big. So sometimes that can be open for interpretation. I think we need to come back to that as far as how we make something like that work without having our ponds overfished because it's open to interpretation, or they might not have a measuring tape or whatever with them when they catch that. So that was just another note that they wanted to make sure, because that helps control, for instance, like the bass population, leaving the larger ones. And it really does apply to bass. You can always, from what I've understood, you can always catch catfish and keep those. But for a long time, we basically just said it's catch and release because we wanted to make sure that we weren't overfishing. We do spend money on restocking from year to year, and so we don't want to work against ourselves there either. So, but we do need to manage the fishing population. So those two changes, removing the redundancy in section E 4 and 5, and then moving it to be 5 to 7 members on the committee instead of 3 to 5. So, sorry, getting back here. Does anyone have any questions on that? I'm guessing we could vote on that for them on their behalf.
I'm okay with adding more members. I assume that they need the extra support for that volunteer position. I'm not so. I think you're right on about the catch and keep. I mean, yeah, you'd have to monitor that. I'm not in favor of that right at this time. I think we can revisit it, but I wouldn't be in favor at this time.
Yeah. So the actual. So I was dumbing it down. It actually comes out to a certain amount of poundage per surface acre, which absolutely we cannot manage that. We'd have to have everyone that caught and kept to come and tell us. And so, yeah, it gets very problematic. So what we're going to be focused on specifically is the number of committee members and reducing redundancy in section E 4 and 5.
I think I don't have an issue with it. I think it's probably something they could handle, but I would like to have Cheryl ask them to also revise their policies and procedures to prohibit the possession and consumption of alcohol either on the ponds in a boat or on the shoreline of the ponds. Based on, I hate to say this, but based on the debacle that took place on the Sovereign Pond on Thursday.
Yeah, understandable. Okay. So that said, we'll let them. Hey, Lee, are you talking to us? Just want to double check. No? Okay. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we authorize the expansion of the pond committee to no more than 7 members.
I'll second.
7 members. Okay. Can we also tie into that motion the reduction of section E 4 and 5 to reduce redundancy?
Yes, okay. And to remove the redundancy in section E. Paragraph 4 and paragraph 5.
Okay. Lizette, you seconded that?
I'll second.
The revised version. Okay. All right. Any discussion? No. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. It's unanimous. And last thing before we move off of ponds, Ralph Mans has served on the ponds committee for a long time and has a lot of history there. I got to sit down with him for a couple hours a few months ago and took as many notes as I could, and he has stepped down off of that. He will continue to remain a advocate for the ponds, and we appreciate that. And just want to thank him for his many, many years of service in that capacity.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Well, that takes us to our owner visitor forum. We have a couple hands raised. David's been waiting patiently. So let's see, I'm going to lower your hand, David, and then I'm going to unmute you for you to speak. Here we go. David, can you hear us?
I see that.
Good. Looking.
I think we hear you, David. David?
He has to unmute himself.
Give us
Evan, I
one
think his
second.
hand's been up the whole time, so he might have had to step away maybe.
Okay. David, are you still there?
Yes, I am. I'm on my cell
Okay.
phone.
Oh, there we go. All right.
You hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Yes.
you.
Okay, so I really only have two questions for the board. Number one, at what point did the renovations for the club go to the environmental committee?
Well, I can answer that. There hasn't been any exterior modifications proposed to the building as of yet. And so at such time as that takes place, we'll take it to the environmental committee.
So the entire inside, none of that has to be taken to the environmental committee?
No. It's no different than you remodeling the inside of your home. It doesn't require approval from the environmental committee. If you're going to expand the footprint of your home or make changes to the exterior, it would require approval, and we haven't gotten into that phase yet.
Okay, thank you. Also, how many bids were taken for the renovation project?
I don't understand your question.
So anytime that you have a situation where you have specifications for a total renovation such as this, you have a architectural plans and everything else, and typically you'd send that out for bids. How many bids were sent out? How many bids were gathered on it?
Are you talking for the demolition?
I'm talking about for the complete project.
Well, the only thing that we've contracted for right now is the demolition. We talked to two different general contractors and one combination architectural firm.
And so you've gotten bids back from all those people?
We have bids from Mershon, and we talked to one other general contractor that was not in a position to accomplish what we felt we needed to accomplish.
Are your intentions before you move forward to gather several bids before you let the contract?
We have a design build contract with Mershon, and they will be getting the appropriate number of bids for each phase of it, which we will review and discuss with them the pros and cons of any of the subcontractors they want to use, price being only one of the components.
When you're looking at something this important and this large, have you considered a funds control product to ensure that the funds go to an entity that's going to control it and be sure that it's not given to a firm that may squander the funds and not pay subcontractors and get liens on the property?
The short answer to your question is yes.
There is going to be, you are going to use a funds control product?
I would say that we're not going to release funds without the proper lien releases. We're not going to release funds without having all the proper controls in place to ensure that the money gets paid to the people that it's owed to. And frankly, this is not our first rodeo for some of us. Randy and I have an extensive background in these types of projects, and we're full aware of the risk associated with it. And that's where we are.
Well, that's an awful lot of money, and I certainly hope you are.
Got it. All right. Let's see. I think Gina has her hand raised.
Hold on. Oh,
There you go. Oh,
okay. Can you hear us?
you can.
Yes.
Okay, it's actually Alan.
Okay.
And 4501 Yacht Club. I have two questions about the landing, or excuse me, sorry, the Yacht Club.
Good catch.
First is, has Kempner or someone either already done or will do the process of registering the name, copyrighting the logo, all the protections that we'll need? I'll just leave it at that. And then the second question is, I was involved in a big conversation at the town square 3 years ago about signage for the club out on Ridge Road. And we were told at that time that the city wouldn't allow us to have signage because the club didn't have street frontage. And I suggested, hey, one of our board members is a former mayor, and there's got to be some kind of way that we can get a special exception from the city, or Kempner may be addressing this already. So can you comment on that, please?
So
there's two parts. Let's go with
I'll take the first part, Evan. Yeah, so once we finalize the name and the logo, Jared may be doing a few tweaks with the designer, but once that's finalized, we will go through the process of trademarking it, registering it. We'll have to work with T to also do a fair amount of changing the DBAs on certain things like permits and licenses and such.
Okay, and then street signage. I feel like that also has some right-of-way aspect, and then there's that land out there that we've had some other discussions about. Chip, Scott, Bruce, any weigh in on that? Oh, hold on one second, Scott. Let me unmute you. There you go.
Okay. You can hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I was just gonna say, yeah, I think that reference to the form. I think that I'm the only former mayor on the board. That ordinance is just a sign ordinance that the city of Rockwall passed, and so it'd be a matter of our homeowners association to go to the current city council and ask for them to change the ordinance and make an exception. And it would probably most likely be what they'd consider an SUP, a special use permit. In other words, they wouldn't change the whole ordinance. They just make a special use permit for the landing to have signage along Ridge Road.
Yacht Club.
and Yacht Club as well. Yeah, the plan is, I know we've been talking about outside, but we have long needed a wayfinding sign that's of the proper magnitude at the turn there on from Yacht Club Drive down to the club. So that is also something that is in process.
And that's something that's probably pretty doable.
I'm just suggesting it should be part of the overall plan.
I think so too.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we've had some discussions about it, and we just I think probably the best opportunity we have, Scott may disagree, is to somehow incorporate it into our current sign out there. I think we'll run into probably a big pushback if we say we want to put a separate sign up there. Number one. Number two is it's problematic because all that property in front of our sign belongs to the town of Heath.
Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Right. Does anyone else have any questions? You can raise your hand and we can call on you. I'm giving a little bit of extra time because I understand that this is different from a technological standpoint.
So Evan, while we're waiting, can you turn around and play us a tune on the piano?
I could, but it won't be impressive of what Jared has shown us in the past.
Right.
Evan, can you explain how to
Please don't
raise your
lie.
hand, maybe just in case someone doesn't know how to do it?
You know, my interface is a little bit different on this side. So it should be down towards the bottom or right-hand side of your screen. Val or Jared, you might be able to give some more, you have a lot more experience with Zoom than I have.
Yeah, you're correct. There's a button at the bottom, either in the bottom center. If you put a mouse over it, you can click the raise your hand button, or if you have the participant view open, it'll be a blue hand on the bottom left part of that participant pane.
Okay. So with that, we'll give a little bit more time in case anybody wants to raise their hand, and then I have to bring attention to Lee's cat that's on her shoulder there. I just saw that. I was like, whoa.
This is Little Pete, everybody.
Amazing.
Little Pete. Love it. All right. Anybody else have a question? Not seeing any other hands raised. So we will go ahead and move towards adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second by Scott. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all for joining us. We'll get this recording loaded up here in the next few days. And that way we'll have the ability for that to be viewed, this session to be viewed by anybody else in the neighborhood. Thank you all. Have a good day ahead.
Happy Saturday.
Bye.
Thank you, Evan.
All right.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. I love the design.
Woohoo!
That's exciting.
Love hearing that.
Yes.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Happy birthday, Ryan. Happy birthday.
I'm going to do one with the cat just for you, Lee.